Hello, dear friends. Greetings of the day. And here today, again, it's a fresh day for us and a new session for us as usual. And I take the privilege to welcome you all to my session in this channel that is Hospitality Education PPT. Friends, as you know that we have started one new series that is exploring diverse cooking methods. And under this series, already we have covered up three sessions. As you all know, that exploring diverse cooking methods or the entire cooking methods which are there very much in the culinary world is a very vast area. So naturally, in one session, it is not enough to cover up and touch up all of them. That is why our objective is to break down the methods categorically into multiple sessions so that we can discuss it thoroughly and exchange the understanding very clearly. That is the objective. So I welcome you all to this channel, Hospitality Education PPT, which is your own channel. Well, so we'll start with what is roasting. Now, if you want to explain this term, then it is basically a dry heat cooking method where food is cooked in an oven or over an open flame. So either cook it in the oven or over an open flame, allowing hot air to circulate around the food. This technique caramelizes the exterior and creating a flavorful crust while keeping the interior juicy and tender. It is commonly used for meat, vegetables, and even some fruits. So roasting is basically exposing the meat either in the oven or against the direct flame. And what happens? The exterior becomes caramelized and the interior remains juicy and also absorb the flavor. So that is what is roasting. Now this roasting has got different types. Number one is known as spit roasting. You can see the image. It is a spit roasting. What is that spit roasting? Explain how it is to be understood. It is a food is put in a skewer. You can see skewer means the iron skewer. It is there on a spit. Spit means a source of fire and rotated over heat source. And this skewer is rotated in a very circular way and slowly it is rotated. So what happened? Every side of the meat or the item to be roasted, it is getting evenly roasted from all the sides. This method ensures even cooking, as I have mentioned, and is commonly used for whole chicken and other poultry parts. And also it is known as rotisserie roasting. Clear? So that is what the spit roasting is against the direct heat source. The meat is put in a skewer and the skewer is basically rotated in a circular motion very slowly so that all sides gets evenly roasted. Mainly the birds like poultry and other games and other birds can also be roasted by this method. Fair enough? What is the second one? Second one is known as the pot roasting. Already we have come across the term. And how is it? Pot indicates a container and roasting will be conducted in a container. How it will be conducted over there? Pot roasting uses a cooking utensils, a container or a vessel with a tight fitting lid. That means it should have a lid on top. It is not a true roast. You can always understand that because as per the definition we have mentioned, either it is cooked in the oven or against the direct flame. And this is pot roasting is neither of this. So it is not a true sense roasting because it is uses moist heat. You can see that the moisture part is there, some liquid mixture is there. How it happens? It is steam trapped under the lid of the closed utensil. Whenever you are putting a lid on top, the steam will be generated from the water molecules present in the meat, and that will be evaporating and going to be escaped. But ultimately, because of the lid, they won't be able to escape. So what happens? They will come in contact with the lid. They will be condensed, transform into moisture, and as a dripping, they will fall on the meat. So that is basically a moist method. The food is cooked with vegetable called mathigno and butter or a mirepoix. So what is mathigno? Mathigno is basically even cut of aromatic vegetables along with some ham, cubes of ham, and even cut vegetables. Why? Because aromatic vegetables. Why? Because these vegetables will be served along with the meat. So you make a bed of this kind of mathigno or mirepoix. And how mathigno is differing from mirepoix? Mirepoix is roughly chopped aromatic vegetables like onion, carrot, leek, celery. All these things are very much used. So mathigno is a specific cut subject to the meat. The size will vary. Sometimes it can be jardiniere, sometimes it can be maxime, but not brunoise to the smaller size. Okay. Sometimes it can be turned, tourné in French we call it, or a mirepoix. Just before it is fully cooked, the lid is removed to allow the steam to escape and the dry heat to color the food. The juices and vegetable are used to make the accompanying sauce. Pot roasting is suitable for dark poultry and game. So what we do exactly in case of pot roasting, we take a fat, the marinated meat is first seared from all the sides to create some sealing or a kind of color, brown color. Then a bit of mathigno or mirepoix. On top of that, the meat is placed and little amount of stock is sprinkled, the liquid is sprinkled, and the lid is placed on top very tightly. And within the container, what is happening? The steam is getting generated, the meat is getting cooked, not getting exactly colored. So it is not in true sense a roasting process that you understood by this time. Like the earlier one we have discussed about the spit roasting. So once the meat is done, then you remove the lid and allow it to be cooked through dry heat method. And this is the time when the meat will develop the actual brown color. That the nice color you can see in the meat that is developed when it is cooked without the lid on top. And the later part of the cooking. And this pot roasting is normally used for the tough joints. The meat which is normally little tough by nature, we can use that through pot roasting method. And these vegetables, either in the form of mathigno or in the form of mirepoix, that will be either accompanying as vegetable or it will be transformed into a sauce and it will be accompanying sauce, it will be served. Clear? We can cook duck, poultry and game through this method. Clear? So we have clarified about the spit roasting and pot roasting. Now we'll discuss about the third one, oven roasting. From the name it is very clear and the definition also you have mentioned that it is cooked in the oven. It is looking like this. You need to have one oven and we can see the product is getting roasted inside. There are different kind of roasting. One is low temperature roasting. What does it mean? Very simple. Cooking at a low temperature, that means 95 to 160 degrees Celsius or 200 to 320 degrees Fahrenheit for a longer period of time. And it is very ideal for large cuts of meat or large joints of meat like turkey and whole chicken, etc. So temperature is low, that means it will be cooking time is more. You got my point. So if there is a low temperature roasting, there has to be another one. Yes, high temperature roasting. And what does it mean? Cooking at a high temperature, that means above 200 degrees Celsius to 400 degree or 400 degree Fahrenheit for a shorter period of time. Now this time we are not going to expose it to a high heat for a longer period of time. If you do that, by chance it will get burned. That is very obvious. So shorter period of time, high heat, the meat will be exposed and perfect for what type of meat? Smaller cut of meat and vegetables. You are right. It is a perfect method for smaller cuts of meat and vegetables. Clear? There is another one, combination roasting. What is that? Starting at a high temperature to sear the exterior. That means whenever we'll put in the oven, first you make the temperature in the oven very high. Once you put the meat inside the oven, what will happen? As the meat will be exposed to very high heat from all the sides evenly, it will get a nice brown color on top, which is known as searing. Searing is basically sealing the meat from all the sides by the application of heat so that the meat is not going to lose any kind of juices. Not majorly. There will be some loss, but not a major loss of juices. And once that is done, then lowering the temperature to finish the cooking. This method balances a crispy exterior with a tender interior. You got my point? So in the oven it can be done either low temperature process or a high temperature process or a combination process. Understood it? Fine. Now we'll go to the another method that is known as what is poêling or poêlage. Poêle is a French culinary term that means to cook the particular white meat in its own juices. Traditionally, fish and chicken this way to retain the maximum juices of the meat in the pot. So what kind of meat we normally prefer for boiling? White meat. How it is to be cooked? It will be cooked in its own juices. You can well understand it is very nutritious, very appetizing. And traditionally, what kind of meat we go for? Fish and chicken. Clear? Okay, fine. This is how it is conducted. The boiling is conducted in a boiling pan. Clear? Now let us elaborate this. The term boiling is also referred to as a butter roasting. Why butter roasting? Because this roasting is done with lots of butter as an ingredient with several herbs and aromatic combinations to steam up and prepare delicious meaty meals of chicken, fish, pork and beef, etc. So what we use boiling means a butter roasting. We use lots of butter, lots of herbs, and this aromatic combination will develop a steam and the meat will be cooked nicely with the steam over there. What kind of meat we can use? Chicken, fish. Normally it is used for the white meat, but we can also use it for the pork and beef. The cooking technique of making a boiler is also called boiling, which some people commonly call casserole braising. So that is colloquially told as casserole braising. The term of boiling basically by the word to word French translation means pot roasting. So if you go actually word to word translation in French, it means a pot roasting. That you can see it is done in a pot. Very simple. But boiling is always a pot roasting with lots of butter. That way we can conclude about the word boiling. Clear? You can see this, how this poultry, the entire whole bird is boiled in a pot. Now the steps of boiled cooking technique. First one, prepare a classic Matignon mixture Already I have explained what is called mathigno. First of all, you have to prepare a mixture of classic mathigno, which is the combination of raw carrots, onion and celery with ham and other aromatic herbs. You may add salt or pepper according to your mood. You can, you may not. You can add little bit or little more. This mixture then gets sauteed with butter and deglazed with wine. Deglazing term, you know, whenever you are sauteing something, you'll find that some juices or some protein element of the meat product is getting stuck in some of the places in the pan, and ultimately what happens, they will get burned from there. So what we can do is that we can add some, we'll remove the meat after sauteing, we can add some wine over there and reduce it again on a moderate flame. So what will happen, these solid elements which is lying there in the pan, that will get diluted, mixed it with the wine, and then it will be reduced. It will be acting like a juicy, flavorful moisture, which can be served as a sauce, which can be used for cooking further. And this technique is known as deglazing with wine. Okay, fine. Step 2, oversteaming the meat. The meat often trussed is placed on top of the matigno, is a covered pot. Trussing, you know, trussing is tying up the meat with a kitchen thread so that during the cooking time it is not getting deformed. It is remaining very compact in shape and size. That is known as trussing. We'll have another session. Already we had a meat session where we have discussed about the trussing. You can refer back those lessons always. It is then cooked gently in the oven, allowing it to steam in the own juices, and the added aromatics. This method helps to retain the moisture and enhances the flavor of the meat. You got my point? Fine. And then, third one, pan frying the meat. To add a bit of golden crust on top of the meat, you can put the meat in a pan and then cook it for some time in presence of butter. What will happen? It will get some color, crust color on top. So first putting it in under the on top of matigno, over steaming it and pan frying it, that's the step. Very simple. Now we'll talk about special type of boiling. What is that? First one is a casserole. What is this? It is a method where the food is cooked in a casserole dish. Casserole is basically oven-proof container. Casserole dish, often with a lid to retain moisture and flavor. This technique is similar to braising but typically involves less liquid. We have not clarified yet what is braising. After this session, the next session will give you elaborate method detailing of braising. But for the timing, you just know it is a combination method of roasting and stewing. Roasting already you have learned, stewing also you have learned in our earlier class. So braising is a method. For the timing, for your information, it is a combination of roasting and stewing. So this technique is similar to braising but typically involves less liquid. Okay, so that is a casserole. How it's prepared? Start by searing the meat or vegetables in a casserole dish to develop a rich brown crust. First by searing to create the crust, then adding the aromatics like onion, garlic, herbs to the dish, then cooking it by covering the dish and cook it in the oven at a low temperature. The food cooks in its own juices, resulting in tender and flavorful dishes. That is very obvious. Okay, so first preparing, then adding aromats, then cooking it in the casserole with a lid on top on a low flame, so that the meat will be cooked in its own juices. That is all the story about a casserole. I repeat, means in French. Casserole is the container. It is cooked in casserole. That's why a casserole. Clear? And it is served with the same container to the guest. That is the specialty of a casserole. And what is another one? Another one is a cocotte. Pronunciation, it should be little careful. It is not cocotte. It is a cocotte. It is a French method that involves cooking meat, poultry, or seafood in a covered pot, and the name of the pot is in this case called cocotte, literally meaning cooked in a shell. Cocotte is shell at a low temperature without added liquid. Then what is the difference between this casserole and cocotte? This is also a casserole dish. Here also a cocotte container. Here it is liquid without added liquid. This method captures the natural juices of the protein and making the dish succulent and flavorful. Did you find any difference between these? A casserole is a method where the food is cooked in a casserole dish, often with a lid to retain moisture and flavor. It is very similar to braising, but less liquid is used. Remember that. An cocotte is a French method cooked in a cocotte container, low temperature, without adding liquid. You got the point now? Yes, you are right. Then the process first is shearing. Quickly shear the meat or poultry to develop a crust. For the fish, we don't require to do that. Aromatics. Then add saute aromatics like onion, garlic, herbs in the pot. Then layering. Place the seared meat back into the pot. Add a small amount of chopped vegetables and season it properly. And then, obviously, cooking. Cover the pot tightly and bake at a low temperature. Temperature range is 250 degrees Fahrenheit or 120 degrees Celsius. The meat cooks in its own juices, resulting in tender and juicy dishes. You got my point? Okay. Now, let us try to differentiate these two methods, because these two methods are very, very similar. It is coming under boiling. Boiling is two types of boiling is there, casserole, cocotte. Almost they are very, very close and very similar. Then how it differs, that is our point of concern. So let us find out what is the difference between cocotte and casserole. Here we'll see point wise. Cooking technique wise, casserole is baked, usually in an oven, and cocotte is slow cooked, often braised in the covered pot. Primary ingredients: layers of ingredients like meat, vegetables, pasta and cheese. These are cooked through this method casserole. And in case of cocotte, meats, vegetables, aromatic herbs and liquids. Liquids, it can be broth, can be wine, are used for making cocotte, because little liquid is added, I have mentioned. Typical dishes: it can be a casserole, it can be grotha, it can be baked pasta dishes like that. And cocotte, we can prepare a stew, braised meat, casserole with rich sauce. This can also be made. These are all variations. Cooking time, casserole is generally shorter, around 45 minutes to 1.5 hours it takes. Cocotte, longer, ranging from 2 to 4 hours or more. Moisture, often minimal added liquid, mainly focuses on baking. In case of cocotte, liquid is added for braising purpose. Flavor profile creates a baked, often crusty top layer, as because it is cooked in a casserole sort of thing. and in case of Ankokot, it develops a deep, rich flavor through slow cooking process. Equipment: a deep oven-shaped dish is a lid with a lid, that is a casserole, that is the name container name is called casserole, and Ankokot is a heavy lidded pot made of cast iron or enamel. Okay. Temperature: medium to high oven temperature is required, and in case of Ankokot, low and medium oven temperature is required. Preparation time often involves layering ingredients and baking. In case of Ankokot, we require browning of meat and slow cooking in liquid. First is searing and then cooking. In case of casserole, it is getting already colored in the oven itself because of the dry heat cooking method. Clear? So that's the difference. If you have any questions, please don't forget to put me there in the comment box. I'll give you more clarification on that without getting any delay from my side. Okay? So let us proceed to the next. Now we'll talk about tandoor. What is tandoor? Tandooring is a traditional cooking method that involves using a cylindrical clay oven or metal oven called a tandoor. And this method is popular in Indian, Pakistani, and Middle Eastern cuisine. That's why in the beginning I told you Indian as well as Asian cuisine, especially. How it looks like? It is like this. This is known as basically tandoor, the inside part, which is most of the time we did not see earlier. Probably this is the actual oven inside. Okay, clay, made out of clay. Cooking methods: food is cooked vertically on skewers inside the tandoor, which is heated by charcoal or wood. This high temperature created over there, 480 degrees Celsius to 900 degree or 900 degree Fahrenheit, and it creates a smoky, charred exterior while keeping the interior tender and juicy. What happens? They generate immense lots of heat over there, and as because we are using charcoal or wood as a source of heat from there, of course burning, so naturally it will develop a smoky flavor, and it will have a little burnt, charred exterior, and interior part will be very juicy. That is the specialty of cooking tandoor. It is like this. You can see this is a tandoor in a skewer. These kebabs are all given over there. Heat is there at the bottom, and you can see the few rotis are also getting baked there in the tandoor from the sides of the clay oven. This is the way I cooked in. The food is cooked in tandoor. What is the flavor profile? The use of charcoal or wood imparts what kind of flavor? A unique smoky flavor, an earthy flavor to the food, and that's the specialty. The height also creates a slightly charred exterior and adding depth to the flavor. You got my point? First of all, because of the charcoal and wood, we get a smoky flavor. Because of the high heat, normally earlier we have learned that we should use a small amount of meat pieces, small portion size meat pieces, and outer part will be charred as because they are exposed to the heat, and inside part will remain juicy by the time because it don't take much time for cooking in tandoor. Clear? What are the common dishes? We know already very popular: tandoori chicken, different kind of naans and breads, different type of kebabs, and tandoori vegetables, tandoori aloo, tandoori gobi. All these things are very very popular in our country. Clear? Now let us also find out tandoor oven operations, how it functions. We should have a very clear idea as a chef. First of all, the heat source. Tandoor ovens are fueled by what? Either charcoal, wood or gas. The fuel is placed at by the time I mentioned that gas is the very modern concept. Normally, traditionally, you can always use charcoal and wood. The fuel is placed at the bottom of the oven, creating a fire, and that heats the interior of the wall of clay oven. Clear? Let us see this. You can see that at the bottom, these firewoods are there. This is the side of the clay oven which is getting heated. It can be heated through charcoal, wood, or nowadays you also get gas tandoor. Clear? Next is what? Insulation. Now remember, or try to notice that if this clay oven is used like this, what will happen? Heat will be escaped through the wall of the clay oven and will be losing the heat. So we need to have some insulation to protect the heat inside so that it is not getting escaped through any source. That insulation is done. How it is done? The thick like this. You can see here the clay oven is inside and outside part is also covered. How it is covered, and there is a technique for that, but it is covered with the glass wool. It can be covered with the sand, then bricks and mud from all the sides, and like this, so that the clay oven is not going to release any heat outside. The thick clay or metal walls of the oven provide excellent insulation, trapping the heat inside. This insulation allows the oven to maintain high temperature or for extended period of time. Okay. And then what? Then is chimney. A chimney at the top of the oven allows the hot air and smoke to escape. This creates, like in all the kitchen, you are having a kitchen chimney. Similarly, as because the, if you see, this is the oven. This is the clay oven which is sealed from all the sides. You can see a very view of a traditional tandoor, and heat is getting generated through that area. You can see at the bottom area through which the air is going inside and it is getting escaped through that area. As a result, the fire is on. Now, this immense amount of smoke, how it won't be there in the kitchen, so you should fit a chimney on top so that it will suck and ensure that proper airflow is there. So, air will go from inside through this path and it will come out from that area, hot air. You got my point? So there will be immense flow of oxygen or air inside and fire will be always on. That is the way. That's why you need a chimney on top of that. Fine. Then heat distribution. How the heat is distributed? You see this, then it will be very clear to you. At the bottom, the heat is generated. That you can see at the bottom the heat will be generated. And once the heat is generated, then it will be going up in one direction. This is one direction, it is going up. In another direction, it is going to the sides. Now, whenever they are going to the sides, because of the arch, what will happen? They will reflect and come back to the center. In that way, what happens? If you put something inside the tandoor, that meat will be exposed to even amount of heat from all the sides. That is the specialty of tandoor. Clear? Even distribution of heat. Fine. Now, let us find out exactly tandoor, grilling and roasting difference. Because already we have discussed about what is grilling, what is roasting and what is tandoor. You might get some point of confusions in your mind that then how, what is the fine line difference? Let us find out that. Tandoori cooking shares similarities with both grilling and roasting, but it also has unique characteristics. And here is a comparison. Then you will understand it very clearly. First of all, the similarities. First similarity is the high heat. Like grilling and roasting process, tandoori cooking uses high temperatures to cook food very quickly, which helps in sealing in juices and flavors. So once the meat will be exposed to high heat, what will happen? The outer part or the exterior of the meat will be exposed to heat. They will shrink, they will become little hard and also create a seal, and this seal will help you to retain the juices inside, natural juices. And what will happen? You'll get a charcoal flavor from outside, soft inside, and that is basically heavenly excellent. Direct heat, another similarity. Tandoori cooking involves direct exposure to the heat, that already you have understood from the concept of tandoor. Similar to grilling, where food is placed directly over or near the heat source. Clear? Skewers. Both tandoori cooking and grilling often use skewers to cook meat and vegetables. That already you have seen. In case of pit roasting, we also require. In case of grilling, also we require. And in case of tandoor, also we require skewers. So these are all similarities. Now differences. Cooking environment. Tandoori uses a cylindrical clay oven that provides even heat from all sides, including the walls. Already we have given a demography for that, how it reflects. In case of grilling, typically done on an open grill where heat source coming from bottom or below. Clear if you remember, or you can refer back the earlier lesson if it is not yet clear to you. In case of roasting, usually done in an oven with the heat circulating around the food. Okay. Some more differences for you in terms of flavor. In case of tandoori dishes, it imparts a unique smoky flavor that we have mentioned as we are using charcoal or wood. In case of grilling, also provides a smoky flavor, but it can vary based on the type of grill and fuel used. Depending on that, the flavor will change. In case of roasting, generally does not impart a smoky flavor unless a smoker is used, because it is not exactly exposed to direct heat in that way to gather the smoke. In case of spit, you have seen that there are balding coals are there at the bottom where heat is generated, and on top of that you are putting a meat and which is under skewer and rotating. We have discussed that. So there is no scope for getting a smoky flavor through roasting process. If the roasting is done in the oven, then there is no scope at all. Clear? Some more differences in terms of cooking method. Tandoori food is often marinated in yogurt and spices before being cooked in the tandoor. That already you have seen in a many roadside tandoori cooking process, the meat is marinated. In case of grilling, can involve marinating but also includes direct seasoning and basting during cooking. It can be marination, it can be instant marination also, and sprinkling salt and pepper on top. So it can be done in both ways. In case of roasting, often involves seasoning or marinating with the food placed in the preheated oven. So in case of tandoor, we need a marination. In case of roasting, we need a marination. In case of grilling, we need both, either a marination or instant marination. Clear? Any questions I am repeating, please put me in the comment box. Fine? So with that, we are at the end of the session, and I convey thank you very much for attending this session so attentively. Your valued comment is very, very important. Your understanding is more important. So depending on that, your comment will come. Any queries, any doubt, any clarification you need, please ensure that you are putting me in a comment box. I'll give you instant reply to that, and keep on learning. Okay. If you have liked the session, definitely you press the like button, subscribe it, and also press the alarm button so that next time any video is uploaded, you get the indication out of that, get the alarm out of that, and After this session, next week we'll come back with the following part of the cooking method. As we are continuing, the fifth part will come. And before we say thank you very much, goodbye, I again remind you that refer back these lessons before joining the next session. And next week we'll meet you again with another new session of methods of cooking. Till then, thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.